Thank you guys for tuning in. Not really a whole lot to say. Let's get things going right off the bat. Club Dub Podcast presented by SportsMockery.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. Absolute bloodbath today down south. I don't really have a whole lot of words. I'm really pissed off right now. I'm angry. I know you guys are angry too. We can be angry together. It's a safe space. Bears fans, put those comments in. We're going to talk to you. We're going to invite you on the show. We want your takes. We want to hear from you. This is just I haven't been this speechless since week 3. Funny how I say that because I didn't think it could get worse. It got a whole lot fucking worse today. I honestly, this Matt Nagy has no pride. This team has no pride. This is insane. This is what are we watching right now? Seriously.
The funny thing is, I completely saw this coming. My pregame thread on Friday, all week I've said this is a buzzsaw matchup for the Bears. It absolutely expected a demolition. I predicted 36-10. And, that was, I guess kind of close, but it was 35-3 at halftime. I think watching it play out was worse because I think it ended up being worse than even I could have imagined. The offensive line got bullied. The Justin Fields looked awful. The wide receivers weren't helping him out. Cole Kmet had that key drop on the first drive. Yeah, it was just ugly all around. Literally nothing went right today. And it's just awful to watch.
It's really unfortunate. You could see everything line up perfectly into how this was going to go, except for the fact that Khalil Herbert actually ran really well today, which was a big shock. So the Bears might have something there, which I guess you could call a silver lining, but they wouldn't be able to pressure Brady because Robert Quinn and Akeem Hicks are out. That came to pass. They only had one pressure all day. And then they blitz Fields.
They only had one pressure today?
One pressure.
I know they weren't in there at all. I know he's going to have a clean uniform after the game, but that's nuts. I didn't realize it was only one.
Yeah, only one pressure. And then they were going to blitz relentlessly on Justin. They did exactly that. They got pressure constantly because the offensive line can't pick up the blitz and can't block in general anyway. So, and then on top of that, you have wide receivers running questionable routes, dropping passes. It was all one giant clusterfuck. And the fact that we knew it coming has to make you question your sanity at this point, because we've been seeing this for the past several years now out of Matt Nagy's offense. It was with Trubisky, it was with Foles, it was a little bit with Dalton for as long as he was in there, and now it's with Justin. Justin played horrible. I totally agree with you there, Drew, but he also didn't have a prayer. So it's really hard to evaluate a young quarterback like him when you know everything around him is an absolute mess.
Listen, man, the kid couldn't take 2 steps back in a drop back. Even when they had him out of the gun a couple times, he had obviously a little bit more time. But when he was under center, and that's when they were most effective running the ball with Herbert, was when he was under center today. He could not take more than 2 steps back without having 3 Buccaneers in the backfield. That's the thing. Those strip sacks, the 3 strip sacks in 20 minutes, the first 20 minutes of play. I'm really not blaming Fields for those. I know that he should feel the pressure a little bit more, but I'm not putting the blame on him for those. The interceptions, that's a different story. That last one was bad. It's a garbage time throw. You're trying to get something down the field, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But are we blaming more Fields here? Or are we blaming everybody else? I'm not blaming Fields. I think rookie quarterbacks have struggled across the board, and I don't think those strip sacks were his fault.
Go ahead, Eric. Yeah.
Sorry. Listen, you can put blame on Fields for how he played today and for the past couple of weeks, some of his mistakes. As well you should. He's the quarterback. He needs to be better about that, and I think he will get better. But this continues to feel like a structural issue because it's looked that way for so long. There's disciplinary problems, running the wrong routes, missed blocks, and it continues to be like that every single week. And you can only say the players are the problem for so long before you have to understand that, okay, this has to be a coaching issue because it keeps happening. And that's sort of where the Bears are at now. They've given Nagy upwards of 4 years now, and it's continued to look like this. 2018 was fine, but even then the offense wasn't all that great. And now it's one of the worst in football, maybe one of the worst in Bears history. And he has a decent amount of talent on this roster, I think, and it still continues to look this bad. So how much longer are we going to have to endure this before realizing that it's just not working?
Was Jimmy Graham active today?
He was. He's also
on. Did they move him to the COVID list?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's also
he went with Wilkinson then, right? Because I missed that Wilkinson was on there. I tweeted out earlier. I thought he was in there. I'm just used to him being bad too. So, the thing is this. Right away, when I go on Twitter and I see people going to bat for Latavius Simmons, dude, can we relax for Christ's sake? He was blocking one of the best pass rushers in the league today, and he had no help. One tight end set. It took him forever to put two tight ends out there at the same time. I don't know. There was just so much. You're right, Eric. I mean, there across the board. I remember watching a third down play, and everybody was into their route about 15 yards down the field, made their first move, and Tampa was blitzing on every third down. This was, you had about 5 or 6 already in the bank to realize that. Why are there no quick routes? Why is everybody open down the field when he's not going to have time? But it was just nothing worked from Matt Nagy's standpoint today. And the things that did work with the tight ends, they weren't used enough. And then, who dropped that ball in the end zone? Was that Horsted?
Was it a drop or was it just?
It was more just a glance off. It was a tough play. It was a fade.
It's a tough play, but I think he's got to catch it. But right, all right. You're right, Aziz. I agree. Horrible play calling. This is something we've come accustomed to now. 24 points in one game for the Bears this year. Nothing more than that. 3 points again today.
How many times have they been held to 14 or less? All but 1 or 2.
It's been pretty bad. Even the Bengals game where they won, one of them was a pick 6. So they only.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying.
I honestly wonder, if ownership was listening today. You guys were listening? Do you guys mute the broadcast when you watch, or were you listening to Nance and Romo today?
It was. I mean, they were trolling big time.
Oh, yeah.
They were trolling as they should.
It got beyond.
Rightfully
trolling.
So. Absolutely.
What else are they going to do?
Yeah. It's not a competitive game, so.
I thought it was interesting that Romo was almost standing up for Nagy a little bit. It was it's going to be a tough situation. He's got to go face the locker room. They're not this bad. I was like, okay. I mean, look, maybe they aren't. And the Bucs are the class of the NFC. I think that's clear. The Bears have gotten pummeled by 2 teams this year in the NFC and one, in the AFC, and all of them are Super Bowl contenders. I think it's very fair to say the Bears are not Super Bowl contenders. The gap is massive. I think the issue is looking as unprofessional on offense as they have. There's really no answers. Even when things have gone right, they had the first drive after halftime. They went tempo, I think it was. They move the ball down the field, and then Fields gets picked after that holding on 3rd and 2. Fields gets picked because it goes off of Darnell Mooney's hands. I mean, it is just mistake after mistake after mistake. And yes, coaching probably a major issue. Players are just maybe distracted or something. I don't know what's going on, but these are mistakes that are focus related. Mm-hmm. And look, it's culminating into massive problems. But look, one thing on Fields, I know everyone wants to protect him and say, oh, this is a rookie, he's going to go through his lumps and everything. Yes, I get that to an extent, but I'm struggling to see progress. I'm struggling to see him make a quicker read after getting sacked quickly the first time, protecting the ball. I mean, 3 fumbles in the same game. At a certain point, you have to protect the ball or get the ball out quicker. One of them was probably just he was beat immediately. I get that, but there has to be even some awareness there. I'm not saying oh, Fields is trash or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But this is the worst secondary in the league. Last week, the Packers had so many people banged up in their secondary, and the Bears have not been able to move the ball. Fields has struggled to throw people open. The receivers have struggled. Some of the scheming has been a problem. It's all a problem. I get that, but even Fields himself, everyone wants to protect and say these are rookie mistakes. I don't think that's entirely fair. I don't think you can wipe the slate clean and say, oh, Fields is blameless, because he's not. And I'm seeing a lot of that on Twitter. And look, my point here is it's a collective failure, and we need to see, Bears fans, media, whoever, need to start seeing some progress from Fields himself. Because when it's garbage time, you got to be able to make more plays than the Bears did.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I don't. How are we supposed to see progress from him when he did? Like, I'll be honest. I thought he played really well against the Packers. There was a few throws that you want to see him make that he didn't make, but being able to come back on drives and after throwing intercept today, it was a gauntlet. Obviously turning the ball over 5 times, almost 6 times. You're never going to win a football game like that. So obviously he is going to share some of the blame in that, but let's not forget, I've been looking around now at other rookie quarterbacks from years past that have now gone on to be stars. And I'm looking at Josh Allen's stats and everything like that. Again, he couldn't hold on to the ball either his first year in the league. He got sacked a lot. I don't know his fumbling numbers off the top of my head, but he threw 12 picks, only 10 touchdowns. I think looking at it through that lens is going to make us feel a little bit better, because let's not forget that he's still trying to learn an offense that no quarterback's been able to learn yet. And I think there's a common denominator with that. And I don't know, that to me, Tampa's secondary was bad today. They didn't have. You're right. They lose Winfield the first play of the season, and not having Sherman. Obviously, they're without some really key guys. But is it really all on Fields to be throwing the ball? Like, where were the design plays to be able to throw the ball deep today? I didn't really see many with guys open. I don't know. We don't get a view of the whole field, but
I think a better question would be, why weren't there more screens, quick slants, quick outs, all that sort of stuff that's designed to help beat an aggressive defense like Tampa? And that's been a problem with Nagy's system as well. There just doesn't seem to be a big inclusion of those types of plays. And even when they try to run them, they don't seem to execute them well, probably because they don't run them a lot. And I think that's another systemic issue that comes from Nagy. He's an aggressive thinker. He wants to throw the ball deep, which is why you have all these routes that seem to go 15, 20 yards down the field. He's always searching for the big play, even if his offensive line usually can't block it. So it all comes back around to everybody's not doing their job, but somebody's going to have to get the blame. And they've been blaming the quarterback for a long time now. That didn't work. So it looks like Nagy's going to probably be the next one to be on the chopping block.
Oh, he's going to have a lot of heat this week. I mean, the media, I don't know if they've started interviewing him yet, but they're going to come torches ablaze today, tomorrow. I'm looking forward to seeing some of his answers. Probably going to see a lot of what are the whys.
Search for the whys, baby.
Search for the whys. But look, I mean, even last year during the six game losing streak, there were some ugly games for sure. There were some ugly games, inexcusable games. This year, it's just they're a very weird team. They beat the Bengals, and yes, I know everyone wants to jump on like, oh, it's the defense and that Nagy has no input there. That's bullshit, and that needs to stop. But still, look, they look good against certain teams. They meaning the Bears. I'm talking about the Bears, not the offense. I'm talking about the Bears. They look good against certain teams, and they've looked downright unprofessional against 3 of them. It's very hard to figure out. And look, this is another one of those games where you kind of just like wrap it up and throw it out. And then they could very well potentially be 5-4 heading into their bye, because the 49ers game looks winnable, and so does the Steelers. But they have to win those games, of course. But if they do, and the Bears, they are turning around, they're 5-4 at the bye week, now what? It's a very weird team. It's hard to say, and I know that we all want to overreact right now. And I'm certainly looking at this game like they don't have a chance in hell against San Francisco next week. But I mean,
I think they do. Jimmy Garoppolo sucks, and they don't have any good wide receiver. I think they absolutely have a shot. The run defense has to show up, though.
Do you see?
The run defense has to show up. They got torched today by Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones.
Yeah.
Ronald Jones sucks. He has not been good all year, and he finally decides to come out, and he's running for these chunk yards of 15, 20 yards of play. Anyway, I wanted to cut in because Justin Fields is at the podium first before Matt Nagy right now. And
interesting.
He's in full uniform still, so he went straight to the press room. I mean, he seems not to be rattled. I'm kind of tuning in and out here, but we'll try and get some tape for you guys later on in the show. I just find this
He's his usual self. He's always even keel in that sort of way. I've always been searching for a quarterback that he reminds me of, and I think I figured it out. I think it's Eli Manning. He reminds me in terms of that mentality, pocket style quarterback. And, when I look at how Eli started his rookie season, I'm like, yeah, that lines up.
I can't believe he's at the podium before Matt Nagy. There's something that's weird to me. I that in full uniform, it looked like he literally just walked straight off the field and wanted to get it over with, kind of thing. But he's answering these questions pretty nicely. Here's a quote from this first question. I've never been in this position where I'm losing. I don't know how to feel. My only reaction is to keep working.
That's
Yeah,
pretty much the answer you got to have.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
But Justin's been a winner most of his career, so he's going to have to learn what it takes to lift this team up, because it's not going to be easy.
Well, the Bears have the worst-ranked offense in the league. It still sits at 32. It's only going to sit there for even longer now after putting up 3 points today. You know what? I'll be honest. I feel for him. I'm frustrated for him. It's coming off in my voice. You can hear it. Like I'm frustrated for him right now, because we all want him to be good, right? But he's not going to be good in this Nagy regime. I mean, the chapter's been written. It's been closed now. Nagy. I don't think Nagy returns as coach next year, even if they somehow are able to turn this season around. But he's going to get outcoached by Shanahan next week. They might have a chance to win. He's going to get outcoached by Tomlin with a quarterback who can't move, and then he's going to get outcoached by John Harbaugh, who has a great quarterback, but they've been losing some winnable games as well. Got blown out by the Bengals today. Need more creativity on offense. Name of the game.
They just need more, period, on offense. Better coaching, that's obvious. We've already talked about that. But they also need more talent. I mean, they've got some guys that you think can, be players on this team. But where's their stars? They don't really have one, to be perfectly honest.
Allen Robinson is taking, he's cashing in his franchise tag, and he's out next year for sure.
Oh, 100%. And Darnell Mooney, I think he's going to be a solid number 2 for a long time, but he's not a number 1 guy. They really don't have a blue chip guy on the offensive line or at tight end. They need a lot of work. Their best position right now is running back. I think they're 3 deep right there, especially with Herbert and Monty. So you got something to build around with Fields, but they need a lot of work.
It's a passing league. You don't win by running the football.
Look at this, and just think about it. The Bucs didn't have Antonio Brown. They didn't have Rob Gronkowski. They had they still have Chris Godwin. They still have Mike Evans, Tyler Johnson, who would certainly start on the Bears. Scotty Miller's out, but he's another very good speed threat. Cameron Brate. I mean, these guys, they have players that would. I mean, their wide receiver 4 or 5 would start on the Bears. Like, that's how you build around a quarterback. And yes, I get it's Tom Brady. Some people may have taken discounts to come play for and with Tom Brady. I get that. The Bears don't have anything like that. Justin Fields is a rookie quarterback, but he's a rookie quarterback who looks whatever. Like, no one's gonna forego money to play with Justin Fields. They'll do that for Tom Brady because he's a championship quarterback. Now, that's how you invest in a position. The Bears, I don't know if they have enough ammunition to do all of that next year, because look, on the offensive line, I know it's been a disaster. Sam Mustipher is getting railroaded. Cody Whitehair has been a little bit of a disappointment. The right tackle position's obviously a mess right now. Haven't been able to see Tevin Jenkins or Larry Borum. There's hope there, but how much can they really do this year whenever they return? So how do you make decisions based on that, right? I mean, you don't know what you have right now in Tevin Jenkins and Larry Borum. Do you invest more in the offensive line at the tackle position next year? Obviously, you have to invest in center. Where do the picks for wide receiver go? You have to make some money decisions coming up with Roquan Smith and other players. Do you want to invest there, or do you want to start dedicating more resources to the offense? The Bears have a lot of questions right now, which are probably highlighted after a game like this. But, I mean, what do you do?
Mm-hmm. There's no question. I mean, moving up to get Fields was the right decision because they needed a genuine talent at quarterback. So I don't begrudge that, but they did put themselves in a tough position in terms of an immediate ability to build around him. They have projected wise around $40 million in cap space next year, but that's not as much as it seems. They have a lot of in-house contracts they got to get sorted out. So they're probably not going to have a ton of spending money, next year. And then you're not going to have your first round pick. And I think they only have 5 picks in total. So it's going to be a really tightrope walk for them to try and find some decent talent to remain competitive. But everybody has been saying this, and I agree. You're looking at 2023 as the time you're really going to start investing in this roster in terms of getting the talent that is necessary in order to help Fields become what everyone hopes he will be.
But even waiting this year, I get it that rookie quarterbacks don't normally, you don't see big playoff runs out of rookies and stuff like that. But the second year is the year that they should be there. The fact that they're going to be a year behind that, it's just malpractice on every end. I mean, he should not have to deal. You're right. They are looking at 2023 because I think we do have a new head coach next year, a new system, new players. He's going to have a new wide receiver one. I'm looking up Allen Robinson's stats this year. Him and Fields can't get on the same page. I mean, he had 2 catches today, 4 catches last week, 4 catches the week before, and 3 after that. He's caught the ball 13 times from Fields. And
countless
against the Browns. So
not being on the same page.
15 receptions from Allen Robinson and Fields in 4.5 games.
It's bad.
That's unbelievably bad. And I don't know what goes on in practice, but these two have to get on the same page. That ball was terribly underthrown at the end of that game, and but it's like,
and even the first interception where Robinson's route was taking him outside, Fields threw it back inside, and that's what it looked like. Robinson flipped. I mean, why did that happen? It's things like that. Yes, I get everyone's mad that Fields didn't get reps with the first team offense, but he's had a month's worth of reps now. Like these kinds of things shouldn't be happening. At least this level of miscommunication. So it's unfortunate. Part of it, I want to watch a little bit more of the All 22 before I really comment on this, because I don't want to, call out a player's professionalism, but Robinson does not seem to be giving his max effort out there on every down. And part of it, I don't blame him necessarily, but at the same time, I don't know how you're going to, make that contract you want, playing like this, because you don't have the stats. So,
I mean, honestly, who aside from David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert have been trying on this offense this year?
I mean, I agree. It feels like some of these guys have started to check out a little bit, not because they don't want to win, but more because they don't believe in what they're trying to do in regards to this entire endeavor. They don't feel like they have an identity. They don't feel the confidence of being able to score on anybody because they can't score on anybody. So when all of this starts to snowpile on them and you have a game like this is when the confidence really starts to crack. And how much longer is it going to be before Nagy finally does start to lose control of the locker room? Because you can only take so many games like this or Cleveland before players start to, I don't want to say rebel, but, start tuning guys out. It happened to Trestman back in 2014, and the offense could at least score a little bit back then. His issues were different. This time it's just a feeling of ineptitude that you just can't seem to shake.
I'm looking right now. I don't know if these are updated. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Looking at the offensive numbers for this team right now, and right here at the bottom, you have 200 yards less than the New York Jets, 300 yards less than the Houston Texans. What are we doing here? They are starting Davis Mills at quarterback, and they had Brandon Cooks, who's been banged up. They've been a rotating wide receiver room. I couldn't even tell you who their number 2 wide receiver is. They've had some nice push up front, but they have no good running. What are we doing here? Look at these numbers. Look at this.
What's more confounding and honestly concerning to me is they do have an identity now. They're running the ball well. They've committed to the run, even against a team like Tampa, even when the game was still quote unquote close. They were committing to the run. They have a running game, and that is, I think, indisputable, and that's right. Absolutely their identity. The passing offense is so broken. It's so unbelievably broken. I don't understand how that's possible when your running game is this good. Mm-hmm.
They had the most yards today rushing against Tampa than any other team in the league has done.
Absolutely, but by far, I think they almost doubled the output of the second half. It's unreal, and it doesn't make sense how the passing offense can be disjointed when your running game is as good. And to me, whenever they try to scheme a pass based on one of those runs, like inside zone, outside zone runs, whenever they've gone to a boot type action or flood concept, it's worked okay. I still feel like the Bears are just not getting that separation on some of those east-west routes where you would expect someone like Marquise Goodwin or Darnell Mooney to outrun whoever's defending them, but they're not able to, and I don't understand why. Like, these guys have speed, and on those types of routes, you should be wide open, but you're not.
I mean, the one stat I forgot to show too on here. Again, I'm not sure if this is updated to today. Fields had about 185 yards passing, so I don't know if this is updated. I would doubt it, but it says before this game, the Bears had 703 yards of passing like this year. Tom Brady has passed for over 400 yards in, I think, 5 or 6 games this year, and they have 700 total yards. Again, different system, different. I would take all 11 starters on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over all 11 on the Bears, and it's not particularly close, honestly. Is there one guy that you would take?
The running back.
I would take David Montgomery over Leonard Fournette. So 1 out of 10.
10. Yeah. Yeah.
But come on, man. What are we doing here? 700 passing yards? What are we doing here?
It's bad.
It's a passing league. You have to pass to win. Duh. You don't need me to tell you that. Everybody here, all 75 people watching this right now, we all know that this is a passing league. We all watch good quarterbacks. You got to be able to throw the ball down the field to win football games, and they just don't. And, Eric, I want to go back to that article you wrote. I don't know if it was a week or so ago, but it was about Fields and his efficiency. Because he was in a group of guys like Winston, and he was above the watermark of being pretty damn efficient the first couple weeks. How does that look now? I mean, again, today,
not as good.
Right, but why was he so efficient? What made him efficient in those starting games is what I'm trying to get at.
I think he was actually pretty good about making mostly good decisions. I mean, he protected the football for the most part, and his accuracy down the field was also good, and it's been that way most of the season. It's just that in this game, you saw that the pressure was getting to him consistently, not just, in actuality, but in his head. I mean, he's always feeling rushed. He's always, you don't want to say hearing the footsteps, but he's been under siege almost all the time. I mean, it happened in Cleveland. It happened in Las Vegas, and it happened today. It happened at times against the Packers. When the rush really starts to get to him consistently, as it would with almost any quarterback, they're probably going to struggle. And he's not at that point yet where he can rise above something like that. And so you end up seeing games like this, where he's going to start turning the football over because he's trying to make plays and trying to get his team back in the game. Unfortunately, he wasn't getting a lot of help, and he was making some bad decisions. So I'm nowhere close to, putting the lion's share of the blame on Fields for all of this. They need a ton of work across the board before I can make a proper evaluation of what Fields is as a quarterback.
I would agree. And I mean, look, I put it on Twitter a couple of times where, at the very least, there has to be a little bit of concern. Not that, anyone's writing him off as a bust, because I feel like Bears Twitter sometimes will overreact, which none of us are surprised about. But there has to be some concern. I mean, so some of the same mistakes are cropping up. It's like what number start was this for him? 4, 5.
It
was 5.
Yeah.
5. I thought it was 4. It was Detroit was his first.
Cleveland,
start.
Detroit, Las Vegas.
Oh
Packers,
yeah, he started Cleveland.
Tampa.
Right?
So this was the 5th one.
5. Okay.
Yeah, and then he had a good amount of time playing in the Bengals game too. So I mean, there's enough, I would say, tape out there at this point where you should start to see a little bit of improvement. Like, of course, some things are still going to happen. Strip sacks happen. Interceptions happen. I feel the chemistry for sure is a problem, which I mentioned earlier. And there were moments that they would show views behind the offensive line where they would show a route that got open, his eyes weren't there. They got there too quickly and he reacted too slowly. I think that 4th down, the 4th and 4, where everyone was talking about, like, on the right side where all the routes were deeper, Robinson was kind of dogging a slant. It looked to be a slant, and he was kind of dogging it a little bit, but Fields saw him, and he was slightly open. He just didn't throw it, and he decided to try to take off and got tackled.
Fields actually just elaborated on his first interception. So this is the second week in a row we've now seen this. They said in his headset that there were 12 men on the field, so he snapped the ball early, There was no flag thrown, and he threw the pick because, you know, he thought it was going to be, you know, a
Oh
free play.
shit! God.
So
Yeah, he's
again,
getting great
here we
advice.
go again. This is the same thing. Who do we have talking in our quarterback's ear? A bunch of people that are just not. I'd have to go back and watch the play. I don't know if there were 12 men on the field, but if there weren't, and the play wasn't fully set, because there were several plays where Fields wanted to hurry up. Nagy called a timeout late in the first half after things were rolling because he
Nagy
thought,
special.
yeah, he called a timeout, and then Romo was trying to say guys were in motion. Nobody was in motion. He called a timeout for some reason because he thought it wasn't a play or a look he liked, and it killed the drive. Nothing is clicking. Nagy and Fields are not on the same page. That's why we heard him say, "I like Bill's calm voice. I want Laser to call plays." Robinson and Fields aren't on the same page, which is a huge problem. But again, if this is legitimate here, why aren't people being shown the door? If this actually happened again for a second week in a row, what are we like again? I'll say it for the 8th time. What are we doing here? You guys had all week to prepare for a really good football team, and you can't even. This is you're setting him up to fail. He's failing, and he's not getting any help.
Kind of dovetails well with this question here from Jacob, prediction on when Nagy's fired. It's not happening until the end of the year. And that's, again, I'm going to stick to it. If they continue down this road, then yeah, he'll be fired. But if they, like I was saying earlier in the show, if they somehow beat the 49ers and the Steelers and they go into the bye 5-4, and there's hope, right? And Fields is looking better, hopefully. You know, like it's not a guarantee, but again, I don't know how you can really have confidence in any games after the showing, even though it was an expected result, an absolutely expected showing. It just looked worse than, you know, even anyone could have expected.
So we got 2 things trending on Twitter right now: Allen Robinson and Fire Nagy. I'm going to pull up the Fire Nagy, and we're going to kind of read through these for fun because we got a couple coaching things going on in Chicago right now that I'm not sure who's going to get fired first, Jeremy Colleton or Matt Nagy. Again, right? I don't know if he'll get. I don't know if he'll get canned before the end of the year. But again, with a second embarrassing loss like this, you've had 2 of these now. The Rams game, you know, they were a better team. You showed a little bit there, but I'm more worried about the Cleveland game in this one, where you just can't score touchdowns. And
At all. You can't score at all.
At all. 9 points in those 2 games combined.
Yeah.
Fire Nagy chant at Raymond James Stadium.
Wonder if somebody caught audio of that.
I'm sure some people did in the stands.
Fire Nagy in Tampa Bay. There's Eric. Seriously, fire Nagy and promote Desai. Favorite tweet.
And I'm dead serious, by the way. I am dead serious.
I mean, yeah. I didn't hear the Fire Nagy tweet. I heard Let's Go Bears a couple times. But
they were down 21-0, and they were finally making their first drive that actually had any sort of substance to it. Yeah.
I don't know. Let's take predictions on when Nagy's fired. If he loses the next 3 in a row, he's gone. I think he's gone at the bye week, but that would consist of him having another 4-game losing streak, because they would hit the bye, and then Ravens is week 11 the week after that. So, if they lose the next 2 and they go into the bye on a 4-game losing streak, they come out of the bye and lose to the Ravens, he's gone. You can't lose. You cannot have back-to-back seasons of losing that many games in a row and keep your job in the NFL. That's my guess.
The only way I think he gets fired at the bye, which is possible, I'm not saying it's not, he would have to lose very badly to both the 49ers and Steelers. I'm talking maybe if not quite at this level bad, but we're talking double-digit blowout losses, maybe similar to the Rams game where you're getting beat by, 15, 20 points. If you have games like that and it's clear this team just doesn't have the fight it did a few games ago, then yeah, you might see him get kicked to the curb. But if they're at least in those games, despite them being losses, I still think he's going to hang on to his job, for the rest of the year, and then they'll just can him at the end. But, the way things are now, we've seen how the Bears have always operated, that they never fire coaches in the middle of a season. They evaluate at the end. If they realize it's not working, kick him out of here, and then we'll get another guy in here. So it would have to be exceedingly bad over these next 2 weeks in order for him to be fired at the bye. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it would have to look if not as bad as today, then pretty close.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's. I still have a hard time because I also don't believe those games will be as bad as this. It's just the matchups are different. The Bears are better matchups. I don't think they're good matchups, but I think they're better matchups than the Bucs. The Bucs are a buzzsaw for the Bears. So,
I mean, they beat them last year, and they have the same team. That's the thing. Like they are a buzzsaw. They're really good. They have a better offense this year, but it should not have been. The fact that they were 12.5-point favorites, I thought was an embarrassment. But come on, like it shouldn't have been. I don't want to normalize the fact that they should have lost by that many points.
No, I agree. I think that there were several challenges here, and quite honestly, I think like last year, for example, the Bucs were in their 5th game, still getting a feel of who they are. They had some turnovers that swung that game a little bit, and Nick Foles played better than Justin Fields played today. So I think a lot of that kind of came together, and Bears were at home, and Tampa just traveled on a short week. I mean, I think there were a lot of factors there that helped the Bears win. And don't get me wrong, it was an upset, and the Bears surprisingly won that game, but there were a lot of things in their favor for that one. This one, again, and this is what's most surprising is that I fully expected the Bears running game to be shut down, and they played really well, and they still couldn't do anything. And again, pass rush from the Bucs, not surprising. Fields holding on the ball a couple of times, not surprising. Interceptions, not surprising. It's just everything else looking so discombobulated was very annoying. And look, you can't give Brady short fields. I mean, I look at the defense. The run defense struggled in the second half. But in the first half, like they made the Bucs earn those touchdowns on those short fields. So I thought they did as well as they could given the circumstances. And
I don't think they made them earn the first one at all. They ran it right down their throats. They scored in 4 plays.
Yeah,
but after that, you're right.
Yeah.
The first drive was just abysmal. They ran.
There was also a bad there was a bad pass interference called there too on Kindle Vildor when I thought Brady's pass was out of bounds.
If anything, it's a hold.
It was a hold.
10-yard penalty, right? The ball landed up in the first row, basically.
Yeah,
it's not a catchable football. I think you tweeted that it wasn't. But all right, so if you're taking and guys tuning in right now, I appreciate it. Clubbed Up Podcast, give us a follow. We're just as angry as you guys right now. Trust us. We want the Bears to win as well. We cover the team, but we are fans as well. This is kind of what makes the podcasting gig fun. So we want you guys to be a part of the show. Keep comments. I love this comment section is filling up right now. I love to see that.
Keep it up, guys.
So keep commenting your questions, comments, concerns. I want to hear too when you guys think Fields or when you guys think Nagy will be fired. I'm going to go if they lose their next 2, and if they come out of the bye and lose a 5th game in a row, he's gone. He'll be gone that Monday morning. That's my guess. They, you sneak out a couple wins in there. Honestly, Pittsburgh's got a great pass rush. It's going to be really hard to beat that defense, but their offense stinks. So, the Bears are healthy on defense. That's a winnable game. I think the 49ers is a winnable game because Jimmy Garoppolo he's like Jared Goff. He's a quarterback that actively tries to give you the football when he's throwing it. Like, I think those are winnable football games. Baltimore, no shot. They're going to get destroyed. But I think those are 2. I think they're winnable. If they lose both of those badly, you're not going to want to talk to me after that because those aren't good football teams. Not right now, at least. I don't think. I don't think Pittsburgh's a good football team.
I don't think so either. And look, the Bears demolished the Bengals, who just went in and demolished the Ravens in M&T Bank Stadium. So I mean, look, I think the Bears actually match up relatively okay with the Ravens, except for the fact that they blitz a lot and Fields still sucks against the blitz, and the Bears' offensive line still sucks against the blitz. So that part's tough. At the end of the day, look, I know it's been all doom and gloom on this podcast, and rightfully so.
It's a safe space. We're just letting it out.
Can we all agree? Yeah, but can we all agree that the Bears are where we expected them to be after 7 games?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you really can't deny it. We all predicted that they were going to lose back-to-back games against the Packers and Bucs. Maybe we didn't predict it would be this bad for this particular game. We knew they probably weren't going to beat Brady, but they were handed a raw deal. A lot of their guys were out because of COVID or injuries, so they weren't at 100%. They had a rookie quarterback. You can make, some excuses, but to look this inept in the face of the defending champs is really tough to swallow on any day. They had a chance to beat the Packers, couldn't keep it close enough late on defense. So they've been in most of their games aside from a couple. So they're good enough to hang around, but probably not good enough to either make the playoffs or win a playoff game, considering where the NFC is at right now. So you could pretty much say they're right where they were at the end of last season.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of the pack of a conference that seems pretty top heavy.
And this is, again, with the passing game continuing to be just at rock bottom. And maybe part of this is insanity on my part, thinking that if they can just get to 25th or 24th or, just in that, not worst in the league, there is hope that they could be better and even sneak out a few surprises late in the year and end well. But just every game that goes by, it continues to look bad and broken. It's the same stuff. So yeah, I mean, you want to call it, fool me 700 times, you can do that. But it feels like the Bears are right there. And look, it may not happen this year. There's a tough schedule. The Bears, maybe they're riding it out at this point with Matt Nagy, and maybe he's replaced at the end of the year, and maybe they come out next year and look much better. But yeah, up until this point, they need, in order to just survive the rest of the season, because there's still 10 games left. 10 games.
You're right. There's time left. The season outlook for me is this is where we thought they'd be. Not going to disagree with you. I didn't think they'd lose by 35 to the Buccaneers.
Sure.
Good, teams that normally make the playoffs don't lose by 35 points. Sometimes you get anomalies like the Packers in Week 1 against the Saints, but good football teams and teams competing for playoff spots don't lose 6 games in a row like they did last year. They don't lose by 5 touchdowns, and they don't turn the ball over 5 times in football games. That just doesn't happen to good football teams. It doesn't. So, looking from here, you absolutely have to win at home next week. You absolutely have to go on the road and beat Pittsburgh, I think. I think those are winnable football games. And then you can look down the road. You got Kirk Cousins twice. That's always a nice thing. The Bears always play the Vikings very well. So those games you can look at. And they've been beat up offensively. You never know. Dalvin Cook is always in and out of the lineup. Those could be 2 winnable games. You got one more with the Lions. They play
the Giants. Seattle, who's been struggling, even with Russell.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of winnable football games left on this schedule, like we just talked about. And there's comments in the section saying right now that, listen, the season's not over yet. You're right. The season isn't over yet. That's not my point. My point is I want this team to compete and win playoff games, and they are not going to do that. They don't have a first-round pick this year, so if they're going to make the playoffs, cool. Let's see what they can do. But I would like to see them win a playoff game, but it's not going to happen when you have the 32nd ranked offense in the league and you can't throw the football. And I just think we're kidding ourselves when we think Matt Nagy's going to win a playoff game for this team. I don't. That's the part that's hard for me to look at. It's one thing to make the playoffs. That would be cool, whatever. But listen, this team has, what did I just see? They have 4 postseason wins, I want to say, in the last 28 years.
Oof.
Let me see.
Sounds about right.
Let me see.
And a couple of them came in the same playoff run. That was in 2006, 2007, right? Yeah.
I just
3 of them have come since 2006.
Coaches,
2 in 2006 and the 1 in 2010.
And
the other one, I believe, was 94.
Yeah, here it is. It's 4 playoff wins in 28 years. Bears coaches hired by the McCaskey family ownership. Lions playoff coaches actually have this written down too, by Ford family ownership. 1 playoff win in 63 years. So, again,
we aren't the Lions.
No, but again, think about that. Man, you got 3 more playoff wins in the Lions in the last couple of years. We really want, and you're watching Green Bay have 7 division titles in the Rodgers era. I mean,
it's hard to compare with the Packers. I mean, they've had 3 decades of Hall of Fame level quarterback play.
Right, I know, but
no, I see what you're saying for sure. I mean, the standard is just bad. I get that for sure, and I completely agree with you. It's just. Yeah, I mean, right now the Bears are closer to the Lions than they are the Packers, which is sad. Speaking of the Lions, by the way, I know they lost, and Yeah, I know they lost, and the former Chicago resident kills me.
No, keep talking. I want to leave this up for a little while. I'm going to speak it into existence.
I know the Lions lost, and Jared Goff's return to LA didn't go so well, but credit to Dan Campbell, man. He went in there like with a plan.
Yes,
They got the ball.
saying.
That was awesome. That was actually a lot of fun to watch in the beginning there. But yeah, Matthew Stafford and the Rams, figured it out and won that game. But look, I mean,
did the Rams pull it out? I was going to say, okay,
28-19.
Either way,
pretty simply. But look, just I think we're getting closer to that referendum where the Bears are, probably looking at a certain fate at the end of this year. But again, we could, if they go out and they beat the 49ers and maybe even relatively comfortably next week, we're probably right back on this podcast saying, oh, did the Bears figure it out? It's such a week-to-week league. It's such a weird league. But, I agree with you. It is very much a winnable game next week. Hopefully they are able to pull it out.
I want to look. I want to look to our guy Stevie actually made a pretty good point. I saw one catch from Allen Robinson today of his two. I think that he had. I want to say he had two catches today. One of which was nice yards after catch. Another thing we're not seeing from this team, but he actually made a nice little move and was able to find himself in some space and things like that. And I think that that's something that can really help push the offense forward. But I don't know. I'm just spitballing ideas at this point.
Did you watch Packers Washington today?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I watched it.
How many check downs go for 11 yards, 12 yards, first down,
first play of the game? Robinson. First play of the game. Devontae right over the middle, catches it in space, picks up 15 yards. First play of the game.
It's ridiculous.
Half step drop, right over the middle. He's wide open. He's right there.
It's honestly unbelievable. I mean, I saw 6 outlet passes in the flat, and it was either Robert Tonyan or Devontae Adams or Aaron Jones catching it behind the line of scrimmage, having space in front of them, and they just run for first down. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree, Jeff. Nagy has never outcoached anybody. I agree. I totally agree with that. He hasn't.
Well, if you look at the matchups over the years, whenever he's running into a quality head coach, he's usually not the winner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking. Nagy's now 31-25 as a head coach with the Bears. 31-25.
That 12-4 cushion is disappearing fast.
Yeah, it's dipping out. I'm trying to find the game by game. I think I got rid of I had it up here, but listen, the offense doesn't work. It doesn't work. We saw it again today. If we leave you guys with anything, everybody, thank you for tuning in. By the way, go ahead and give us a follow. We're on here all the time. We want you guys to keep being a part of the show too. Keep leaving those comments. We'll invite some fans on too. If you guys are interested, leave a comment. You want to be a part of the show, we'll send you the link. You can hop on and talk with us. If we leave you with anything to talk about today, it's Matt Nagy is not. I don't think he's got much left. I don't think he's got much time left. If we're putting in it could be the end of this year. It could be at the bye week. But I will use Charles Barkley's thing here. I guarantee they lose 5 games in a row. He's out. Sorry, I don't do that nearly as good as Chuck. Love that the NBA is back. The Bulls are 3-0. Thanks.
Bulls are 3-0. Shout out to the Bulls. Shout out to the Sky for winning the championship.
I was at the Bulls game last night. They look nice. They can pass the ball better than the Bears can.
Oh man, Lonzo Ball for quarterback, huh?
Dude,
hey man,
nice.
Why the hell not?
Sorry, all the Justin Fields fans are going to kill me right now. That was a joke, guys. Please.
No, I see Eric tweet about it every game, and I've been off it for a couple weeks now, but I hope you guys will join me, and we're done with the Matt Nagy thing. It's got to be done. It's got to end here soon. It just is not. It's not working. It's not working, and it's not going to work. He's been given a long leash, and I think that it's running out. He's used all the excuses in the book. Has he even met the media yet?
He did. Yeah.
He did? Okay. Did he say anything of value? I
don't know yet.
I didn't see anything mentioned that was worth talking about.
Did he say we got to find the wise?
Matt Nagy says in locker room, Bears talked about the pride they showed in the second half. Says the message was, let's let this be one loss, but let's not let it beat us 4 times.
They only gave up 3 points in the second half.
Oh my God.
Yeah, nice pride, Nagy.
I love the pride they showed after that 6-game losing streak. I mean, it's the same fucking thing. Oh my God.
They weren't trying. You held them to 3 points. You want to know why? Because they
took their foot off the gas. That's why.
Brady had his 600 touchdown pass already. The biggest loser today, not the Bears. It's that fan who gave the ball back.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw Darren Rubble tweeted that ball was worth $500,000 in an auction. He just gave it back. Man, poor guy. The poor one out for that guy, man. He just threw away some nice money. That's tough. But
I'm sure they probably made an arrangement.
I don't think so.
Oh, sure. They gave him a game ball. They gave
Mike
him a
Evans,
jersey, and they'll probably do something else.
Here's some tickets to our next game. Like, yeah, but it's not
They could probably
$500K.
give him season tickets.
Here's the tickets to the Super Bowl because we're going to be back here, in the Super Bowl. That was probably what it was. An IOU for the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Don't talk to me about pride, Matt. Don't talk to your players about pride. There was no pride left on that offense, man.
There's nothing you can say after a game like that. It's just like, guys, we're going home, and that's it. By the way, real quick, when we're talking about Matt Nagy getting fired, new coaches, should the Panthers be firing Joe Brady because Sam Darnold looks so bad?
Who was their backup that went in today?
TJ White.
TJ Walker.
Walker, thank you. I thought I got mixed up.
Oh, no, that was the Jets.
Mike White, yeah.
Mike White, thank you.
Mike White, yeah.
Probably because I had Sam Darnold Jets
Who
still
is
in my head.
Mike White? Who the heck is Mike White?
Nobody's ever going to know because he's never going to take another snap.
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know. Joe Brady, it's an interesting one. I mean, Darnold was...
At this point, at this point, my short list for coaches is obviously you have Sean Desai as the internal coach candidate, and then Brian Dable and Kellen Moore. I mean, those are it. I mean, who else?
I think you could make an argument for Greg Roman, considering what he's been able to do with Lamar and Tyrod Taylor. He was pretty good with Colin Kaepernick and Alex Smith. So he's had consistent success everywhere he's been. It's just a question of his success has been primarily driven by the running game. Can he elevate an offense to, top tier status? And so far, Lamar Jackson's sort of validated that this year.
Dude, yeah, Lamar looked real nice last week in that comeback win, and today he had a couple really nice passes. You're right.
Yeah.
Making a running quarterback, and that's what leads me to believe that there could be a connection there. Justin will never be – he won't ever be as elusive as Lamar is, but he's got the same type of speed. So if you can get that same type of coach in there and the coach into his mind, like, hey, make this a part of your game, there could be a logical transition there that would make sense for me. But we're all in that boat, right? We've all come to agree that this team's not going to win a playoff game under Matt Nagy, and they should.
I don't know. Like I said, we could be right back here after 2 weeks, and they look 5-4, and if they do, right, of course. And if they look good, it's like, oh, well, maybe they figured it out.
The bottom line is we'll have answers of some type at the bye week.
Yeah.
And, if they're 3-6, will it be? If they lose their next two, they'll be 3-6. They're probably at that point done because their offense still can't score, and there's no way they're going to dig their way out of that hole. If they're 4-5, 5-4, it's like, okay, maybe they make a run in the second half and can be in the mix. It's just... we're going to have answers at the bye, and we'll definitely have answers at the end of the season. So those are the two dates you need to look at, the bye week and the end of the season.
So who gets fired first? We'll leave you guys with this one. Again, thank you all for tuning in. Love all the comments today, by the way. We'll do a question. We'll do a final take. I don't really have a final take written up, but if I'm sure I can. Does anybody got one?
There's no final take after a game like this.
Yeah,
okay, that's fair.
I don't have the strength.
We'll do the question. We'll do questions, but I do want to put a poll question out there for everybody. Who gets fired first? Is it Jeremy Colleton, or is it Matt Nagy?
Oh man, that's actually really tough right now.
Ooh.
The Red Wings are up 3-1 right now over the Hawks. The Hawks are going to be winless.
Good Lord.
Still, they look.
I thought they were going to be a pretty good team this year, which is crazy.
They got a goalie. They looked all right, and they just looked terrible. I don't know, man.
Marc-Andre Fleury, man, he ain't it anymore. It's a bummer.
Yeah, they swapped goalies. They gave him what's his face when they were rebuilding like 2 years ago. I don't remember his name, but
Rob Lanner or whatever.
Yeah, Robin Lanner, that's who it was. Yeah, I gave him up and ended up getting Fleury here in return. But yeah, no, they're about to lose. I think Colleton's going to be out the door, man. I think he's done. But good poll question. Fun for the content at the moment. Drew, where'd you go, man? Get back here.
He posted he had to take a call.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll dip on out of here. This was enough of that. The only bright spot for this one, I'd say, Eric, for us was honestly the only bright spot here was Khalil Herbert, and we want to leave on a positive note. So let's chat a little bit about Khalil Herbert before we dip on out of here. Listen, this is I'm trying to figure out. There we go. That's the one I wanted. Khalil Herbert, he's making David Montgomery look a little bit more expendable, which is nice because if you do, maybe you need a draft pick. Maybe you look to trade Montgomery's in a contract year, right? I think you could put him on the franchise tag potentially, but you don't really do that with running backs. Maybe for his sake.
There are a lot of teams around the league that probably could use running back help, and David Montgomery is probably considered one of the top 10, 15 running backs in the league. I mean, somebody would be interested in him, presuming he's obviously going to be healthy, which I think he will be shortly. So I think that's something they're probably not going to consider because they really love Montgomery, but it is something you probably should, especially if they lose next week. And then you're going into the trade deadline at 3-5, and you really need to consider, we have to think about the future with Fields. So we're going to need to think about getting draft picks and maybe unloading some salary, if at all possible. So the Bears haven't traditionally been sellers at the trade deadline, maybe. And I don't think they're going to be, especially with Ryan Pace knowing he probably needs to win football games if he's going to keep his job or get Justin Fields to play better than he has. So I don't think they're going to be sellers at the deadline, but with the way Khalil Herbert's playing, it is logical that you would at least consider trading Montgomery, because then you have Herbert and Williams, who are a good 1-2 punch, and Pace has proven consistently to be able to identify running back talent. Jordan Howard, Montgomery, Herbert, it's been consistent. And this is how you need to approach the running back position these days. You don't pay them big contracts. You just continue to reload late in the draft or via undrafted free agency, because you can find them there too. So the fact that they were able to find Herbert so cheap in the 6th round is absolutely outstanding, because he looks like a legit player. So that's definitely a positive. Today. Yeah, he looked terrific against a really, really great run defense. I mean, they've been number 1 in the NFL since 2019. Yeah. It's been that long how dominant they've been against the run. So for him to play that well against them, that tells you he's not a fluke. He can play. And moving forward, that's a great thing. It's a question of, can you find a way to take advantage of what he's been able to do for you? And they haven't done that so far because they haven't utilized play action well. They're all over the place. And I know Drew gives me a hard time about hammering Nagy so much, but I've seen this since 2019. I'm tired of seeing it. It's not working. Maybe the players aren't good enough, but he's definitely not good enough, and he doesn't have any answers. So I've said my piece on this so many times. I'm going to have to keep saying it because that's the way this goes. But to me, Nagy's the biggest problem now. He had his chance to get quarterbacks he wanted. Nothing's changed. So it's time for him to go and bring somebody in who might be able to fix this.
No, I agree. And I totally agree. I don't think the Bears are going to be sellers at the deadline. I'm just saying it's going to be a shame to watch Khalil Herbert ride the bench when Montgomery comes back, because he's been that damn impressive. Buccaneers hadn't given up 80 yards of rushing yet this year. He broke that nearly in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the shedding tackles, the quick look,
the vision, the quick decision making.
Now,
that's
granted,
exactly what you want to see.
But he did struggle a little bit in pass protection, but that's because they were using different blitzing packages throughout the game to kind of change it up. They wanted to pick on the rookies. They wanted to pick on Fields. They wanted to pick on Herbert. Those were evident there. But
that's coaching.
You're right. You can lay that on the coaches as well. But this is something I want to watch moving forward. Because if Herbert's this good, which he looked good in preseason when I saw him live, and he's been looking even better since then, I think this is something we can definitely look at. Mm-hmm. Montgomery being expendable, especially when you're going to need to stockpile draft picks and you don't want to pay them. Maybe you look into moving them. I don't know. We need to. This team needs a disgruntled wide receiver like DeAndre Hopkins to want out of a good situation. This needs a Terry McLaurin Washington football type situation. Like that's a team with a really good wide receiver that can't seem to figure it out. That's the type of guy you want to, start to look at. Those things are rare, but this team needs it pretty desperately.
No question.
I would
No
say.
question.
Well, that's going to do it for us, guys. Bears lose 38-3 today to Tampa. They fall to 3-4 on the season. Again, as always, we are presented by sportsmockery.com. You can find us online, sportsmockery.com. Find us on Twitter. Our Twitter handles are right there. You probably already follow Eric. Follow me. Follow our Club Dub podcast handle that we're coming to you live from again today. Again, the final today, 38-3 Bears. We'll look to try and be better next time. Maybe we'll work on our collaboration too. Who knows? But for Eric Druven, I'm Kevin. We'll talk to you guys later this week. We're going to preview Bears-Niners. Man, they got to get back in the win column. See you guys.